Click it.
Perfect.
And I think we're recording.
We are.
Okay, good. Again, my name is Alan Bodenstein from Carroll High School, Northwest Allen County Schools. And I have with me David Prokop, and he's the coach of Valpo. Supposedly the best coaching staff in the state, but I think they're a fantastic staff, and I would agree that quite possibly the best staff in the state. And we're going to work with you guys a little bit on setting up your offense and setting up your defense. Just giving you some ideas of how we've done things. And remember, this is not the definitive way to do it. Everybody does their own thing. Everybody is comfortable doing things their own way. But these are just some ideas. And right, wrong, nothing's right or wrong. Everything is just personalized. So I believe I am up first, right, David?
Go for it.
Okay, I'm up with the offense. So I'm going to share a document with you. Admittedly, it looked like a nice document when we started, but it was our regional against Noblesville in which we lost. So it didn't end up being such a great document because we lost. But it was still a pretty good offense that we used over the course of the year. So hopefully that'll share. So can everybody see that? All right. So what we did at Carroll High School was we created different plays off of the same formation. So we did so one was trips left, and we had different plays with different people in place based on that formation. We had partners that would wear wristbands with miniaturized of these boxes. So Minnie and Elliot were my two partners in this set, in the first set. So Minnie and Elliot both had the wristbands on, and they both were able to put everybody where they belong, was able to tell them exactly where they needed to go and exactly what was going to happen. So we had run plays, we had a fake handoff, and then we had a handoff to a pass out of that formation. Okay, then we did another set where we had, Bryce and Seth were our two partners. And again, they would set things up throughout the two series. We had a run play, a fake run, and then a handoff to a pass also. And then we had a 3, which we only had one play that we worked off of that. And then we had a 4 that we had 3 plays we worked off of that. And again, at each set, we had partners that set the players in place, reminded them where they need to go, what their job was, and then got the play going and ran the play. Now, it wasn't always the case where the partner was like the quarterback, because usually the quarterback kind of runs things on the field in an offense. But like AJ was one of our athletes. So, he just needed to be reminded where he needed to be set up as the quarterback. And he quarterbacked 3 out of the 4 plays in this set. What we found in regards to success was that, and we chart every play, and we write, did we gain? Did we lose? Did we throw an interception? Did we fumble? Whatever. The plays that generally made us the most yardage were plays where we had athletes at quarterback. Okay. And the plays that got us the most yardage were athletes at quarterback, plays that were uncomplicated. So simple handoffs, athlete to athlete, athlete to partner, simple pass plays, athlete to athlete, athlete to partner, and just simple fakes. A fake handoff to an athlete or a partner, and then a pass play off of that. What we do with our offense is I am also blessed, like David is. We have paid coaching positions. I have 3 paid assistant coaches, along with a paid head coach, which is me. And I have an assistant coach who is one of my ex-players, one of my ex-partners that's in college now. And then I have an offensive coordinator and a defensive coordinator. So my defense coordinator, my offensive coordinator, basically what he does is we just run through the plays. And what we try and do is we try and do each play. So we may do just the one set at a practice, and he'll do each of these plays probably 15 to 20 times. Because the more we run it, the more the kids remember it, the more they understand it. We'll do that with no defense, just running the plays. And then what we do is then we'll bring our defense in, not necessarily the defense that we use, but we'll bring a defense in, a group of kids, and we have them run these plays against them. And we just do almost like a live game, running the plays. If we have plays that over the course of the first couple scrimmages or practices, so they're not working, we have no problem taking a play out of the rotation. Sometimes we replace it, sometimes we don't. I know that we've probably gone through easily 100 different plays, trying to figure out what works, what doesn't work. We've learned a heck of a lot from teams that we've played. Everybody's had some great ideas. And you look at some stuff that other teams use and you go, basically, well, how did I not think of this? That's such a simple thing to do and so effective, so make sure that as you're scrimmaging, as you're playing your games, you keep an eye on what the other team does, because it's great ideas. And it's once it's out on the field, it's free to everybody for free. It's free for everybody to use. Any questions on the way we do this here?
None here.
Yeah, I had a question. This is Bart Hensley from Brownsburg. Regarding the 2 wristbands, those are for the partners to wear, correct?
Correct.
And then is that going to be an official wristband, or is it just something that's just a basic indicator?
It's the wristband that we got from my AD got. It's what the quarterbacks wear on the regular football team. It's Velcroed, and you open it up. It's got the where you can put the plays in the little plastic sleeves, and they just open it right up. It has all the plays in there. It has all the names wherever everybody needs to go.
It's called a coach in football terms.
What's that?
They're called coach. It's called a coach.
Okay.
A wristband coach. They're called coach.
So
Thanks, Mitch.
Is it an official part? Is it a part of the uniform, like a must that the partners have to wear them? No?
No.
Okay.
No, that's just the way we wanted to do it. And part of the reason we did that was, and again, we're blessed like David's blessed with numbers. We have so many kids that want to do this. We figured the best way to organize people is just to have it so that we had names down on and we kept groups together. Because the next week we may have used the same template, but we may have had 5 different names in for every for group 1, 5 different names in for group 2. So it helped us keep things organized.
Would you say majority of the teams that you played also wore 1-2 for their quarterbacks?
I wouldn't say the majority, no.
Okay.
One team we played, we actually lost in the regional this year also to a team that basically played playground. They had no plays. And they beat us, and they beat Valpo, and they were a heck of a team. So you know what? Like I said, what we do isn't necessarily the right way to do it or the wrong way to do it. I think a lot of it depends on your personnel. And I think you need to mold your offense, around who you have and what the personality of those people are. Because the team that we lost to and that David lost to, like I said, they had no plays written down. And they were a really, really good team. I know, David, you're shaking your head. But they were really good. They were enjoyable to watch. They just had the personnel to be able to do that.
Yeah, so my assistant coach and I were kind of talking. Is it coaches are on the sidelines, or can coaches be on the field when calling?
No, you need scrimmages. You can be on the field. Once the regular game schedule starts, you have to be on the sideline.
Sounds good. Thank you, sir.
And that's part of the reason why we did the wristbands.
Yeah,
we felt like that was us being on the field as much as possible.
Sure. Awesome. Thank you for answering my questions.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for asking, Bart. Any other questions? Okay, if not, we're going to move on to David doing the defense. And then at the end, if you think of any questions for me, you can always re-ask some questions for me. All right, David, you're up.
I can answer too.
I'm going to take my sheet off there.
Perfect. All right. Yeah. Like Alan said, definitely blessed at Valpo because we're able to have a coaching staff that's fairly large for Unified. And then as far as our amount of students that we have in our program is pretty big. So that helps out a lot. I'm going to talk about defense a little bit. My other main assistant is in the other room talking about his offense there. There's no doubt that defense is extremely hard. I think we put a lot of focus in on offense because we understand that stopping teams it doesn't happen a whole lot, to be honest with you. I was looking at the numbers. I'm an analytical guy. I coach basketball and I run all of our analytics. But just for the tournament last year, the winning team averaged 46 points or more. Like that was the average, 46 points for the winning team. So in 2 20-minute halves with a running clock, there's scoring that's happening pretty much every minute, every 2 minutes. So defensively, it's really hard to play. And so we keep it extremely basic. We basically match up one-on-one with your wide receivers, your center, and your running back. You don't have to have a guy cover the quarterback because he can't cross the line of scrimmage. The only time you have to worry kind of about that situation is when they hand the ball off to the running back, and then now he can either run or pass. And so that kind of hurt us in the regionals against McCutcheon. But we match up one-on-one, and so you have 4 guys matched up with the 4 offensive players that can catch the football. And then with our extra guy, we either decide to blitz every time with that person or they play like a safety position. For a lot of the times we blitzed, we would match our 2 partners, our most athletic partners, up with the other team's most athletic players. And then we would have 2 athletes match up with their 2 other players on their team that we felt that they could guard one-on-one. And then typically for us, we would always have someone that we didn't feel most comfortable necessarily guarding someone one-on-one, but they knew that if they had to stand on the orange dot or near the orange dot, and as soon as the ball is hiked, to go chase the quarterback with their hands in the air, just to make them run and move and throw on the run, that worked best for us. We understand that being the analytics that most teams like to run the ball to the right. When you get into the tournament, the teams are more advanced. But a lot of teams like to run and throw the ball to the right. So we would play heavy on that side. A lot of reverses go to the left because they try to trick you and go the opposite way. So we understood that. Our goal is we want to force as many turnovers as we possibly can. It's really hard to stop teams. Like it's almost impossible, especially if you play a team like McCutcheon, to stop them. And so if you can get 1 or 2 turnovers and then just hope that your offense can score was our mindset. Basically that was our goal. We were just going to get 1 or 2 stops or turnovers, and then our offense was going to kind of lead the way. We work. Luckily, we have 50 to 60 kids on our team, so it probably hurt us in the long run. But we would split. We had offensive and defensive players. We had maybe 1 or 2 guys that played both ways or could play both ways. But when you get into the tournament, you can only have 12 kids active in that game. So we would split pretty much 6 and 6. So at practice, we would practice. Coach Jamia would take offense. He would run with the offense. I would take defense, and I would use practice with our defensive guys. The hardest thing on defense for us, at least, is being able to grab a flag. And so we worked on the basics of you would get a partner, match up in pairs, and basically put the flags around one student and their partner. I would say go, and their student would just stand there, and you'd go up and you'd just grab the flag. And we started with that at the very beginning. Maybe then slowly add on, all right, the guy with the flags is going to walk 3 feet this way and grab the flag while they're walking, eventually leading it all the way up to when they're running, can you grab a flag? Because it's extremely hard. Even as a coach, we would have our top running back go, and us coaches would try to do it, and it's just difficult to do that. And so we would always force guys to the sideline. We taught how to break down, basically get in front of them, break down into like a defensive slide as in basketball, and always try to force the guy with the ball or girl with the ball to the sideline. Because if you can't, maybe you don't get the tackle, but if you can force them out of bounds, that might be the best thing. We were lucky enough this past year, our best defensive player, he was a freak athlete, and he had quickness, and his hips were very quick, and he had really good reaction speed with his hands. So he was able to, he didn't miss a tackle, I don't think, all year. Unfortunately, he's moving on to play varsity football as a senior, and he's probably going to be a starting cornerback, just because he's that quick. He's a state track runner as well in the 400. So it helped having him. But a lot of it is the offense is going to kind of run the game. And I don't try to mean to sound negative, but I don't know if there was anything, at least for us, that we could have done to stop McCutcheon. They had 2 wide receivers that you could throw the ball 10.5 feet in the air, and they were going up 2 hands and catching it. And we just didn't have anyone that could stop that. So it was a jump ball. We couldn't stop it. The one kid was about 6'6". The other kid was about 6'4". There was nothing we were going to do to stop that. So we had to find other ways to we actually started double teaming one guy, but then they got smart and they did the handoff to the running back. And then as soon as you ran at him, he was so quick, he'd run around you, or he could throw it to anybody. And their whole team, every single player on the field could catch the ball, could throw the ball. Like, they were just extremely athletic. So we really, our whole focus is us scoring points. We scored in our full games that we play, we would score about 40 to 50, 60 points a game. The one before our regional matchup with McCutcheon, we played Tip Valley, who went to state the year before. And that was the lowest scoring game ever. It was 16 to 12 was the final score. And it was just stop after stop. But most of it comes from the offense. And so if you can get a stop, that's big. We try to get 2 stops a half. That's what our goal is. I focus defense only. Coach Jamia focuses offense only. So that kind of helps things out. But we practice separate offense and defense. For the first, I would say our practice is only a half hour or an hour long. first 20 minutes is all just icebreakers, and then we separate for about 15 minutes. We work on form tackling and all that, and then we scrimmage our offensive guys. But defense is hard, and Alan, you probably could add it's really hard. Even if as a coach, it's hard for me to get out there and try to stop some of these guys because it's just they're quick and the flags are hard to grab.
Yeah. All right. So I have two questions for you. Okay. Question one would be, have you experimented with where you grab the flag? Like, do you grab it low where it's flapping, or do you try and grab it high more towards the belt?
So we work on grabbing high.
So did we. Okay.
We work on grabbing high because then if you miss and your hand goes down, you still have a chance to grab low. So we really work on grabbing high near the waistband. I know for us, a lot of my partners at the beginning of the year, we really had to work on explaining and feeling comfortable of tackling, especially like I have some varsity basketball guys that play for us. They didn't like the idea of pulling the flags when a female had the ball, and so, because they felt very uncomfortable. And so that was a whole thing that we had to really work on explaining, like, it's part of the game. You're not in getting them that right mindset, but we definitely go high right on the waistband. That way, if you miss and your hand slide, because you're not going up, you're usually going down to grab. So the waistband area, you can at least get the bottom of the flag. But you do got to pull hard though sometimes.
Yeah.
So that was, I know we had an issue. We played a team, and their running back actually tied the waistband in a knot. And so we grabbed the waistband and it broke. We didn't get it. They scored a touchdown. Explained to the ref. Ref disagreed with us. The next play, when they had the ball, they did the same thing. It was tied. And so my defensive back grabbed the flag and it wouldn't pull off, but he basically like lifted her and was like, look, like, and then the ref, called her out for it. But that was beginning of the year. But it's hard.
Yeah. All right. I have another question, but I think Mitch has one, so I'm going to let Mitch ask first. Go ahead, Mitch.
I wasn't going to ask, but I'll talk as a player perspective. You're right. Defense is the hardest thing. I know that maybe you might want to do like some safety blitzes if possible. Those are always out of the blue. I know playing that, like you said, tying a knot. Honestly, that is actually against the rules, I'm pretty sure, and that's the other team's ball plus cancel the score. So, but I just know this much that my question is, as a defensive player or an offensive player, where is one thing that you think that, like, so you coach defense, how do you teach them to go over, if they're flag protecting, how do you teach them to go over that flag or get underneath that flag if they're flag protecting and still getting that flag?
Yeah, flag protecting, I think is I'm glad I'm not a referee because it's impossible to know whether it's flag guarding or the person's just running. And I know we talked about that at the very, very beginning when people were coming into the room. So not to sound, mean or anything, we teach our defense to be aggressive as far as going for that flag. And if someone's hand's there, we basically tell them not to worry about where their hand's at. Don't worry if they're flag guarding. Don't worry about it. Your job is, to make the tackle,
flag,
to get the flag. And so, we tell them not to worry about the flag guarding, not to worry about what the other team's doing. We'll talk, with the refs. We'll talk with the other coach. And it's going to happen. We know it does happen and things like that. But we just teach our players to play the game, do the basics that we teach you. The breakdowns that we do every day in practice, that's what's going to win the game for you. And so, but flag guarding is a weird situation that we do have to deal with. But we teach our guys not to worry about what the other team's doing and just do what we do.
Yep. All right. My second question, David, was so you talked about matching up one-on-one probably partner against partner in most typical situations. I know, like against Noblesville, my first year, their athletes were better athletes than my partners.
Yeah.
So it was really hard to match up regardless. But what do you think of putting your fastest person as a rusher to give the other team the least amount of time to run their play before there's pressure on the quarterback? What do you think about that strategy?
So yeah, we do match up basically whoever's the most athletic, our most athletic guys versus their most athletic guys. Obviously, there's not a whole lot of scouting, so it's hard to tell that the first couple plays of the game. Luckily I'm very competitive coach, as you know, Alan. When we got to regionals and that, we knew who we were playing, and we were actually like Tip Valley. I actually watched their previous year's games, and they did stats in that, and so they actually had stats in the newspaper on who scored their touchdowns. So we knew going into the game who their studs were, and so that we would match up based on that. But we do, like Mitch said and like you said, we will blitz our safety or our cornerback. This past year, I had 2 basketball players as my top cornerbacks, and they basically had the right of way. They had to let me know, that I let them make the calls. They were both, one's going to be a senior and one just graduated, but they both have point guard basketball knowledge, so they know how to read a field. They had to if they gave me a look and I felt comfortable, I'd give them the nod, and they would go. And actually, the rest of the team would not even know they were going. So it was obviously a big gamble. When we do sneak blitzes, we typically blitz from the blind side to make the quarterback go. But sometimes, because a lot of guys don't feel comfortable rolling out to their left, we force a quarterback to make him roll out to his left. So he has to either throw across his body or throw back behind. But if you let him roll out to the right every time, he's able to still read the field. And you'll notice on teams you play, there's usually the quarterback is pretty athletic and knows how to read that. Especially if they have a really good quarterback, it makes it difficult to blitz. We always use our whole season. We used an athlete as our quarterback because it gave us more options to pass. But some teams like to use, their most athletic, and it could be athlete, could be partner. Obviously, if it's a partner, it eliminates a couple of people who they can throw to. So that plays a role as well. But you don't know who the partner and athletes are. But teams get in, they get in a pattern, and you can tell who they're getting the ball to. Some teams more than others, they throw the ball to the same guys. But we mix things up, but we try to keep it as simple as possible. The hard thing it's a blessing that we have so many guys, but at the same time, we can't schedule games because we don't have anybody near us. So we have to only play on Saturdays typically, and we have to travel. So it's hard to get all 50 kids playing time. Unlike track, we're able to get everybody in. And so we actually run 2 seasons. We run our regular season, and it is basically everyone gets a chance to, get in games, and it's really fun. We don't really care about the score. And then when tournament time comes is when we really crank things up and it really gets competitive. But yeah, we will blitz off, but not a whole lot sometimes, just to disrupt the pattern or the flow of the game. But we typically would use an athlete that necessarily we didn't feel comfortable guarding someone, but it was a great way to get them some playing time. And all you do is just say, run your hardest. And we had one girl, we would joke, and we just tell her, when you're running, scream as loud as you can as you're running at them, just to distract them. And then it works. And so that's kind of what we go with.
Yeah, we tried a couple different things. We tried a real fast, quick kid player, just to limit the time they had to make their decision. I found that person overran the quarterback more times than not. And then we also tried blitzing a 6'7" basketball player with his arms up, and just giving that quarterback no vision of the field. And that worked a lot, actually. That worked pretty well. but you can only do it a couple times because once they see that kid lined up, they'll switch to play. They may do a quick handoff type thing. So like David said, defense is hard. It is really hard. And I've done the same thing as David. I've watched a lot of, or as much film as I could of the different teams in the state, whatever was available to watch. And it's hard to do. Like he said, the scores are high for a reason, because it is hard to stop another team.
Oh yeah, when I was looking at the tournament from last year, there was a couple of teams that scored in the 80s. And McCutcheon's one of those teams that will just put up points. So yeah, we focus on, our goal is to get 1 or 2 stops a half. And if we can do that, we feel like we have a chance, especially with the offense, the high-powered offense that we had last year. But it's tough. Does anyone have any questions? It's weird. Everyone has their name on their screen, so I can't see anybody. So it's just me, Alan, and Mitch I'm looking at.
So I know that playing is a different story than coaching, but my question for you guys are, if you could change one thing about the rule set, what would you add or what would you change?
That's a great question. I got 2 things that me personally, maybe I'm a little biased because we are a bigger team. I would love to see 7-on-7 rather than 5-on-5. I think, but because I have so many guys that might be different for me, 5-on-5. I mean, if you think 5-on-5, if it's only 5 players, it makes it really challenging to get everyone in the games. We have 50 kids on our team, but even if you only have 20 kids on your team, you're only playing 25% of your team at a time. So that makes it hard. And we don't, I know other schools do, we don't do an application process. We don't want to cut anyone. We want as many people a part of our program as possible. Now, obviously this fall, I am going to do probably the least amount of recruiting I've ever done, just because the more kids you have, that's a lot of contact tracing we're going to have to do with COVID and everything. So we're still up in the air of exactly how we're going to do the fall. So that's one. The other thing, I wish the running clock would switch to more of traditional football, as far as incomplete and out of bounds and change of possession, clock would stop. I think that would be one of my things, because those games go by quick. It is really quick. And as a coach, even it's hard for us to make any adjustment, because you talk with your offense while your defense is out there. Next thing you know, your offense has to go back out there because the other team scored in 10 seconds. So those are my things. It's hard to do a play clock. I know we got down in the regional championship and it came down to there was like 3 minutes left in the game, but we already used our timeout. So essentially the game was over, because all they had to do, if we had to get a stop and they got a first down, it was over, because the clock wasn't going to stop and they knew not to go out of bounds. So they just got tackled in the middle of the field. So you kind of felt helpless there, but that's football in general. But probably the 7-on-7, I wouldn't mind, 4-and-3, four athletes, 3 partners, but
yeah, I agree, and I'd also like to see them expand the roster in regards to, well, you'd have to if we do the 7-on-7, but 12 kids, just using 12 kids.
yeah,
I just don't think it gives enough kids the experience. If they would increase the roster to like 15, and then you play 7-on-7, or I just think that would give more kids the opportunity to do it. And the only issue with me with that play clock, like you were talking about, is it's never, what is it supposed to be, 15 seconds or 30 seconds? It's never that. I mean, we've had games where the offense has taken 40 seconds, 45 seconds before they started the play, and what are you going to do?
yeah.
The referees, they don't want to make that the focus of the game.
Correct. Yeah. And so I don't know what the solution is to that. But the 7-on-7, I think but there was no team we played this year or this past year that I don't think could have done seven. I think everyone definitely could have done 7-on-7. But there might be smaller schools. But if you have 12 kids on a team, you can do 7-on-7 as long as, I guess, if you have four athletes, which I think most teams do. So yeah.
Yeah, but that's also very hard thing to do because in Special Olympics we do I think we do 7-on-7. I'm not sure. We might do 5-on-5. But what I know is that it's a crowded field. So if we do 7-on-7, we're gonna have to make the field bigger
Yeah, and that's
as well.
another thing. Luckily, like we play our games on our football field, so that we're able to that option's available. So yeah, who knows?
Gentlemen, can I ask if we go to 7-on-7, and certainly I love that the conversation now is how do we add as opposed to 3 years ago, how do we start? What a beautiful thing. So if we add to 7-on-7, and Mitch, to your point, we're going to have to make the field bigger. And then my next thought is we have to add an official. Do we go from 3 to 4 to make sure we get coverage so that we keep everybody safe? I mean, that's consistent across every sport we do. How do we adjudicate it safely for our kids? And hopefully adding the license as we've done will increase that. But I've taken a few notes as you've gone through every session today to see what we can do to implement what you think is needed for our sport. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you being here. We all
Yep.
appreciate it.
Yep.
Anybody else have any questions? We still have, it looks like about 9 minutes.
I'll take any if anyone has any questions, not necessarily about football, but maybe it's about track or anything regarding teams and that. I think Alan and I feel comfortable answering anything you guys want to throw at us.
I had a question. Maggie from Perry Meridian High School. Are you guys in charge? This is kind of fundraising. We talked about that in the last group. Are you guys also in charge of your our champions like together banners? You know how we're supposed to raise so much money for Special Olympics. Do you guys take charge of that, or does somebody else in your township or whatever do it?
No, I do mine. So I do everything. I do the fundraising for the banner. We have a club that we call the Connections Club, which is our social piece that we do. We have, a couple times a year, we have presentations with the whole.
Honestly, in my opinion, I think it should be simple.
So, I'm in charge of mine. I don't know, David, are you in charge of all that for you?
Our first year, I did both, but we actually turned our champions together into a club, essentially. And so we actually have 2 sponsors this year that are going to run that portion. So they're going to take over the fundraising for the banner, getting the all-inclusive event going on. But both of the 2 sponsors that are in charge of that, one of them is actually one of my assistants, and the other one could potentially be another new assistant, as I lost Jamia for this upcoming year. And so they kind of run that. I was doing it all, but it got really, because I coach a varsity basketball sport as well, which is a lot of hours, it got kind of too much for me. So I was able to pass that down to them. They run our bocce and bowling. This year we're hoping to have bowling as well. So we kind of split it off, but we are also all in the same staff. So we work together for it, but it's not me necessarily the head person in charge of it.
And Maggie, for us, our fundraising for the banner is a one-time event, and we raise probably close to $2,000 in that one-time event. And we make sure it's one of our rivalry basketball games for our varsity boys and girls. So usually it's against Homestead, and we design a T-shirt that both Homestead's going to sell and we sell. But we do it in our colors; they do it in their colors. And we do pre-sales for about 3 weeks, and we sell at the games, and that raises all the money we need for the banner in just one quick event. and then we use that as our event too, our inclusive event.
We've had some success with like special with the polar plunge. We did do the plane pull challenge one time. It might just be me. I probably just need to kind of delegate some stuff out. So I was just kind of wondering what everybody's thoughts were.
Yeah, we did the polar plunge for the first time this year also. So that's something we're definitely going to do in the future. That was fun.
Here's the thing, guys. Everything sounds good, but it sounds like you took it over. And if I remember correctly, it's supposed to be student-led. So you guys are all doing everything, kind of sounds like. So it doesn't really sound like you're giving the students a chance to lead it and put out what they want to do. Because I remember when I was a student, Hash would contest to this and say the same thing. It was mostly all of us students raising the money, and you guys thinking of ideas is taking away that idea building phase for them.
Yeah, our students do everything in regards to the design of the T-shirt, the sales of the T-shirt, and be honest with you, that's why I can do everything, because I'm just basically overseeing. I don't make a whole lot of the decisions, even in regards to like the stuff that we sell in our store. They design all that. They decide what they're going to sell. So, even though it sounds like I'm making all the decisions, I'm not making all the decisions. I'm just overseeing all the decisions.
You should have said that then. Just saying.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%, Mitch.
It's
very easy to get involved in this and take over and think that you got to do everything. And you're 100% right. You're 100% right. This is student-led, and you can't lose sight of that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I kind of went on a tangent.
No, you're good.
No, you're 100% right, Mitch.
I think me and Alan should. Yeah, when we do ours is a student-led. Our Champions Together is athletes and partners board. They have they hold positions, and they run all of that. Valpo is fundraising is very confusing at Valpo, where it is, we have to send in proposals, has to get approved by the school board and everything like that. And so when we set up, like if we're selling shirts in that, our students can't set up at lunch to sell those unless a teacher is present there when they can't touch the money. So I feel like when I was in high school, it was completely different. It was so much easier, but there's just a lot of rules now, which I understand. So, but yeah, ours is definitely student ran. We just have to be there to make sure nothing bad happens.
Okay. Sorry, guys.
Good, Mitch.
Oh, Mitch, that was a valid point, Mitch. Good point.
You're keeping us honest, Mitch.
Any other questions?
I have a question. This is my name is Bruce Klimak, and I'm at South Bend Riley. And this is the first year for all the South Bend schools trying to unify. We were going to do track last year, and it happened what happened. From my athletes, I get a lot of feedback saying they hate the term united. They don't want anything that has to do anything. We don't want a Special Olympics patch. We want to play this game, but we don't want to associate. Did you guys any of you guys have issues with that?
No.
Well, here's the thing. Growing up, I'll tell you this. Growing up, I always wanted to be a part of anything sports related. So if you just call it a track team instead of being separating it by calling it a unified track team, but also actually separating it, that's the hard thing though. And for some athletes, they can't control how they think, and they think they're put in a corner again. We're put in the unified corner again. They don't realize that unified corner is another piece to the family.
Right, exactly. But it's hard. I don't have trouble with partners. I have trouble with athletes because of that.
Yeah, I think one of the keys is like if your whole athletic department buys into the program, then I think it kind of alleviates some of that. Because like when we have our track, we call it unified track, but we're on the track with the track team.
Right. Our track coach has been very cooperative.
And we we warm up together sometimes.
Right.
But you can't call it a track team because you already have a track and field team. So there has to be some designation differentiating, you know?
Oh, I understand that. The issue is we're kind of doing this on the fly because we haven't been able to meet with our kids to organize this since March. So, so we're looking forward to it, and I've learned a lot. Oh, one real quick question. How hard is it with the center exchange? The center has to snap the ball, right?
Yeah.
Between the legs.
Between the legs. So do you work on that a lot, or?
We do.
We work on that constantly. That could be you could do a whole practice on that.
Right.
I'll just add real quick about the unified. I know I only got 10 seconds. We started out where we didn't kind of call it the unified, and then our kids were like, no, we want to be a part of a thing called unified, and made it really big.
Let's see here. We'll give it a couple more seconds for everyone to come back in. Lee, I think we're good to go. If you want to make sure you're unmuted.
I believe I am.
All right, you're good to go.
Okay, well, my part's going to be short. I just want to thank everybody who presented today. I want to thank the rest of you for being here today. But today's been all about the coaches. They did a fantastic job, I think, of putting this together. And I apologize and take all the blame for the technology problems. But thank you, coaches. I'm looking forward to great things coming out of this Coaches Association. So with that, Alan, I'm going to turn it all back over to you.
Okay. Well, again, thank you for being here, and thank you for having the patience for us to get through those technical issues. We're really, really excited about the future of this Coaches Association. We hope you're all going to take part in it, and I hope we all hope that you're going to be a part of building it and being a part of presenting. Our plans going forward, our next clinic that we want to do is going to be at the convention, and it's in October, right, Lee? Okay, and we want to do another clinic on track and field and bowling. So, we have a survey that's going to you. Please fill that survey out. Give us the negatives, give us the positives, so that when we do our next one in October, that we can do a better job. If you felt like we did a good job, then we'll just continue on the way we were doing it. If anybody's interested in any of the committees that we're going to be forming, once our Coaches Association is up and running, please get involved in that way. This is only going to be as good as the people that we have working together, and I can't think of a better thing to be working for than Unified Sports. It's been a blessing for me to be able to do it and to be part of it, and this Coaches Association is just going to enhance it. So thanks again. And
Alan, before you sign out, just a couple of things. Mike Hash has put together a quick poll that everybody can take today, as well as the evaluation that's coming out later. And just give me a second here. I think, maybe not. Bobby Cox, are you still on?